So I'm on social media, just scrolling a little bit, and I see a post that says, all the good women got played, so, all they do is work and go home and mind their business. And I'm like, you know what? It is true. The women who are good to guys and the guys still end up playing them or cheating on them or abusing them or whatever, you know, those are the women who have real trust issues. Okay? And I'm not saying they wrong for it at all. That ain't it. But what happens is once you deal with a person like that, it sounds crazy, but it's 100% true. Once you deal with a person like that, you tend to encounter someone else that have the same traits as that person, and you're okay with it because it's a familiar place. Just hold on, watch where I'm going with this, okay? People have a tendency to hold on to familiarity. Now, I don't care how wrong it is. I don't care how hurtful it is, how traumatizing it is, how dramatic it is. If you've been through it before and still breathing, 9 times out of 10, you go back to that. That's just like when people go to prison and they spend a certain amount of time in prison. When they come out and they go back. Then they come out and they go back. Then they come out, they go back. It's not because they like to go to prison. It's just whatever happened in prison was not enough to break the cycle of them going back to prison. It's a familiar place. They're okay with it. They'll keep going back and forth. It happens the same way when it comes to your emotions. If you survive physical, mental, verbal abuse and it didn't break you, you don't mind going through it again with another person because it's not as bad as the last person. It's not what's designed for you, but it's not as bad as what you went through. This is, once again, y'all gonna hear me say this a lot. You must know who you are. You must know what you want. You have to know what your heart desires. If you don't, you're gonna get anything and be okay with that. And it's not okay. You shouldn't leave one broken, abusive relationship and go to the next one. You're not even elevating. Or maybe you are because maybe this person had their own car and their own place and the other person didn't. They moved in with you. Fine. But mentally, they still in the same place as the other person. You don't want to keep doing that to yourself. You really do need to take a break. You really do need to breathe. You need to be single for however long it takes for you to heal. Me personally, I'm never going to say I'm going to get over something or get over someone, because that's not how it works. In my lifetime so far, I've learned that you never really get over someone or you never really get over a situation. You just learn how to adapt. You learn to adapt without that person being in your life. You learn to adapt to that situation. You learn to adapt or how to function normally without that person or that situation being a part of your life. It's a big difference than just getting over it. Like, most people, I don't know, maybe I just look at it differently. Most people will say, oh, but well, that's the same thing. I don't feel like it's the same thing because it's still emotional connections tied to that person or that situation. I'll tell people to this day, like, yeah, oh yes, I still love my ex, but I'm not in love with him. I choose me. I know I deserve better. So there's no reason for you to ever think that I'm going back, because I know I deserve better. That's what I mean by adapting to the situation. You can still have that emotional connection, emotional tie, even have butterflies when you see them or hear their voice. You get butterflies in your stomach when you hear their voice, or if you see them, you be like, ooh, child, still fine. You know what I mean? But not fine enough for me to tiptoe back over them. You have to learn from the situations you've been through. If God made somebody that fine and give you butterflies and goosebumps like that, he can give you somebody like that without the negative stuff that come with it. I couldn't think of a word. But you know what I mean. God created him. He can create a better version of him. Somebody who is not going to play with your emotions. Somebody who is not going to cheat on you. Somebody who's not going to be mentally and physically and emotionally abusive. Somebody who's not going to sit there and lie in your face and act like they're telling you the truth. This is what I mean about being very specific about what you want. And what you, first of all, you don't even know what you want if you don't know who you are. If you don't know who you are, if you don't know what you want, you cannot create the person that's supposed to be with you, because you don't even know you. You have to take a little. You have to take the time to actually write out, not in your phone, on a piece of paper. You have to write out who you are. You have to write out what you want. You have to write out the things that you want out of your mate. I've been going on off of paper I made maybe 7, 8, 9 years ago. This is the guy I want. This is the guy who I want to be my husband. And God was saying people like that, but it's not specific enough. He just told me I have to get super specific about what I want. All the way down to the things you didn't think you had to think about. I want a man who only likes me. You know what I'm saying? I want a man who is this. I want a man who is that. Certain things you can be, certain things you cannot be. And I know people say, oh, you got to be who you want to attract and all stuff. Absolutely, to a certain extent. I'm not a liar, so I don't want somebody who lies to me. You know what I mean? I'm financially secure. I want somebody who take finances as a very important part of their life. Once you get that foundation of who you are, what you want, all the stuff like that, it's going to be so freaking hard. When you set that bar, your bar was like here before. When you set that bar up here, it's going to be so hard for you to settle for somebody who is not meeting certain criteria. There's certain things you can overlook now. There's a little bit of things you be like, oh, that's okay. That's fixable. Okay, he don't have straight white teeth. That's fine. Veneers for everybody. Let's get it. But my thing is this, like, get to the point where the principles that you want is not going to change. Like, that foundation of what you want is not going to change. You have some non-negotiables, and then you have, a bucket list of things that you just like. But if you don't have it, it's okay. But you have to have a clear vision, a very clear vision about what you want God, what you want, who you want God to allow into your life for the rest of your life. So let's get clear on that. Let's go ahead and write that list.